When we shop, we don't really think about the consequences of our actions, nor we do understand how these might have detrimental effects in our society. According to a study by Annie Leonard, the US is one of the most, if not the most consumeristic nation in the whole world. We account for only 5% of the total population, however, we consume around 30% of the total global resources. Last semester, I conducted an independent research project in the area of anthropology where I analyzed how mass consumption in the United States have had some detrimental effects in both the natural part of our society and also the socioeconomic part of it. Therefore, I conclude that mass consumption has negative effects in both the natural environment and the society as a whole. On the natural side, mass consumption has led to the increase of waste production, which has overall accelerated the greenhouse effect. Even though this is a natural process, the acceleration of it might have some terrible consequences for all of us and for future generations. According to the EPA, the average American produces around 4.4 pounds of garbage every single day. And out of that garbage, only 34% of it is recycled. The rest is gone, out of sight, out of mind, and is lost in a landfill where it is incinerated, and it has some detrimental effects on us and in the natural environment, even though we don't even see it or know about it. On the food sector, out of all the total food produced in the United States, around 50% is completely wasted. Not even touched, not even eaten. And that's a lot of food considering that a lot of people in our society suffer from food insecurity, and not only in the country, but in the whole world. On the social side, mass consumption has had some terrible consequences in our socioeconomic status as a nation. It has created this irresponsible consumeristic culture where we don't think before throwing away our things. According to a study by Leonard, around 99% of the total products bought in America are thrown away after just 6 months of use. That's a lot of things and clearly points out that we don't even think before throwing our own things away. And a study by UCLA also talks about how hyperconsumerism has been a problem in most American households and how 40% of the total toys in the world are owned by American children, clearly pointing out that the use of resources in the world is unequal in different parts of the whole society. According to a PBS article, the average American throws away around 65 pounds of clothing every single year, accounting for a great percentage of the total non-recyclable waste produced in the nation. Now, with all of these problems, we need to find solutions because we as a future generation, we need to make this system work for not only for us, but for the future generations. So this entails basically two things. The first one is to promote a sustainable economic development. And it comes from personal level all the way to a governmental and international level. As in a personal level, we need to start buying more sustainable and eco-friendly products. Because if we as consumers, we have the power of all markets, and if we as consumers demand this type of products, the supply will increase and the price might even decrease for all of us. Education being key, we as consumers and as people of this world need to have the responsibility to educate ourselves not only on the consequences but also on the possible solutions that we can implement in the future and to future generations. And finally, as people from this world, we have the right and the privilege to vote. And so we have the responsibility to work for political candidates that will promote this type of eco-friendly, sustainable practices in the markets and in the system overall. Then the second thing is to reduce waste production and the unsustainable depletion of natural resources. This is also all the way from a personal level to an international level. On a personal level, we need to start reducing waste production by recycling, composting, and even reusing, according to the EPA. We also need to start implementing this type of renewable, sustainable energy sources instead of just using the same old coal or other type of non-sustainable resources. And this comes from personal all the way to governmental implementation. And finally, we also need to vote for political candidates and for policies that will promote environmental regulations for companies. Even though this sounds scary for most people, we need some type of control in these companies. Now I want you to imagine a world where there are no resources, where everything we know is completely gone. Imagine a world where half of the animals and the biodiversity that we know is gone forever. Imagine a world where the high sea levels have destroyed multiple cities and have changed the lives and even ended the lives of millions. Imagine a world where we all have to use masks because the air pollution has become a reality to all of us. This is what will happen, and this type of life is what will happen if we don't take action now. Considering this, and considering the horrifying possibilities of this, we need to start understanding that mass consumption has led to the increase of waste production, the creation of socioeconomic inequalities, not only in the nation but in the whole world, and to the overall establishment of an irresponsible consumeristic culture that we need to start taking action now. So what's some personal things that you can do? Basically 2 things. The first one is to become responsible consumers by prioritizing reducing and reusing over recycling, and by supporting local, eco-friendly, sustainable solutions and companies that will make this change happen. So the next time you go shopping, think about the actions that you can take and about the consequences that your actions might lead to. Thank you. Any questions on the floor?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes.
So what happens to all the waste that goes to the landfills?
Well, most of the landfills in the US turn to incinerators, which basically means to burn the waste. And that releases a lot of gases that contribute to the greenhouse effect and that destroy the atmosphere as well.
Yeah. For example, if you would like to achieve a more sustainable style of life, what can we do to do this?
A more sustainable lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, like, how can we help to
mitigate this?
not mitigate, but to help the environment or to avoid this type of consumerism?
Well,
Consumerism.
On a psychological level, I would suggest to think twice before both consuming and buying things, and also before throwing away things. That's on a personal level. And then maybe like on a family level, you can start implementing like composting practices or systems in your own house, and you can use renewable energy instead of normal energy. And you can, I mean, it takes a lot of effort to make sort of that transition, but it not only depends on the government, it also depends on us individually.
What do you mean by renewable energy?
So most of the times you have the option to check whether you want your energy coming from a renewable source or a non-renewable source. So you check the one.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. We can do that.
We are doing that.
Ah, that's great.
Okay, thank you.